Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. It's unacceptable the chase's Mark Labbett. Shocking update drops just a few minutes ago. Broken our hearts, this news must see. The air in the studio was always thick with anticipation, a charged blend of fear and ambition. For years, this was Mark Labbett's domain, the beast to millions. A towering intellect whose general knowledge was matched only by his withering glare and disdain for superficiality. He was a force of nature on the chase, crushing dreams with the efficiency of a well-oiled machine, rarely betraying emotion beyond a triumphant sneer or a frustrated grunt. Compliments from the beast were rarer than a white blackbird, whispered about in hushed tones, almost mythical. And yet, tonight, something shifted. It was the annual Celebrity Super Chase, Minds for Millions charity special. The stakes were high, the contestants a motley crew of national treasures and fleeting reality stars, all vying to raise money for their chosen causes. Tonight's lineup was particularly intriguing. A flamboyant television chef known for his culinary dramatics, a widely loved but notoriously ditzy pop star, a veteran comedian whose wit was sharper than his general knowledge, and most surprisingly, Dr. Aris Thorne. Dr. Aris Thorne was an enigma, a reclusive astrophysicist whose groundbreaking theories on space-time and parallel dimensions had reshaped modern cosmology. Thorne was also a Pulitzer-winning author whose philosophical treatises blurred the lines between science and spirituality. Their public appearances were virtually non-existent, making their presence on a prime-time quiz show akin to spotting a supernova in broad daylight. Word was, Thorne had agreed only because the chosen charity, Nebula's Promise, funded scholarships for disadvantaged students pursuing STEM careers. A cause deeply personal to them, having grown up in humble circumstances themselves. From the moment Thorne walked onto the set, there was a palpable shift in the energy. They weren't flashy. Dressed in a simple, dark blazer and spectacles that magnified intelligent, calm eyes, Thorne exuded a quiet gravitas that made the other celebrities seem almost flimsy by comparison. Even Bradley Walsh, the
Zeno's paradox, at its heart, highlights the limitations of an purely infinite subdivision of space and time when viewed as discrete linear steps, Thorne began, their gaze seemingly fixed on some point beyond the camera, as if observing the paradox itself. The reconciliation lies not in how to cover infinite steps, but in understanding that motion is not a series of static points, but a continuous process. Imagine a river. To cross it, you do not jump from stone to stone in an infinitely decreasing sequence. You flow with it. In the quantum realm, motion isn't perfectly continuous either, but rather a probabilistic wave function. However, on our macroscopic scale, the apparent infinite steps merge into a singularity of continuous action. The paradox arises from imposing a discrete mathematical framework onto a continuous physical reality. Motion, simply put, is a fundamental emergent property of the universe, not an accumulation of static fragments. It is the river, not the stones. As Thorne finished, the silence in the studio was profound. The answer wasn't just correct, it was elegant, insightful, and profoundly philosophical, distilling a complex concept into an accessible, almost poetic analogy. It went beyond a mere answer. It was a brief lecture, a glimpse into a mind that processed reality on a different plane. Bradley Walsh, usually quick with a quip, was momentarily speechless. He looked at the card, then at Thorne, then back at the card, as if verifying the question matched the answer. That was quite an answer, Dr. Thorne, he stammered, clearly taken aback. I think that's right. Based? All eyes turned to Mark Labbett. His face, usually a mask of unreadable intensity, was different. His brow was furrowed, not in frustration, but in deep thought. He looked at Thorne, not with his usual predatory gaze, but with an expression bordering on awe. His mouth, usually set in a grim line, was slightly agape. He cleared his throat, a sound like gravel shifting. "Bradley?" he rumbled, his voice lower than usual, almost hushed. The question asked for a conceptual reconciliation without resorting to calculus. Dr. Thorne has not only done that, but they've done it with an elegance and depth of understanding that transcends the format of this show. He paused, then delivered the line that would echo through the annals of the chase history, the words leaving his lips with a weight that suggested profound significance. "Remarkable," Labbett said, his voice quiet but resonant. "Truly, utterly remarkable. A mind of rare distinction." The studio gasped, not a collective gasp of shock, but of stunned revelation. Bradley Walsh's jaw dropped. Marco, the chef's eyes widened comically. Luna, the pop star, for once was utterly silent, her mouth a perfect O. Reggie Sparks simply leaned back, a slow smile spreading across his face. The compliment hung in the air, a golden mote in the harsh studio light. It was brief, concise, and absolutely sincere. There was no sarcasm, no backhandedness. It was pure, unadulterated admiration from a man who rarely, if ever, dispensed it. Dr. Thorne, for their part, simply nodded, a faint, almost shy smile gracing their lips. "Thank you, Mr. Labbett," they said, their voice still calm, as if such praise was simply an expected outcome of logical discourse. The game continued, but the atmosphere had irrevocably changed. The tension, while still present, was now laced with a sense of wonder. Labbett, though still ruthless in his pursuit of answers, seemed almost reflective. He answered the subsequent questions with his usual speed, but there was a subtle shift in his demeanor, a hint of respect that hadn't been there before. In the end, Dr. Thorne successfully made it back to the team, bringing their £7,000 with them. The team, bolstered by Reggie's earlier success, entered the final chase with a decent sum. During the break, Bradley, still buzzing, leaned towards Labbett. "Beast, I've never heard you say anything like that. Remarkable? You usually just grunt if someone gets a particularly clever answer." Labbett took a long sip from his water bottle, his gaze still fixed on Thorne, who was chatting quietly with Reggie. "That wasn't just a clever answer, Bradley," he said, his voice gruff but thoughtful. "That was a demonstration of true intellectual mastery. Most people can regurgitate facts. Very few can articulate such complex abstract thought on demand, under pressure, and with such clarity. It wasn't about the points. It was about the purity of thought. It was refreshing, like finding